America has no truer friend than Great Britain.
People like talking a lot about the special relationship between the United Kingdom and the United States.
There is an extraordinarily special relationship between the United States and the United Kingdom.
This relationship is special.
Building on the special relationship we have between our two countries.
A lot of talk about the special relationship.
I hate that phrase, special relationship.
US-UK relationship has always been branded as special.
With the UK leaving the EU and potentially losing some of its closest partners, the UK is looking for new opportunities.
Special relationship.
Very special.
Special relationship.
So what is the special relationship? What does it mean to each country? And how important will it be for the UK post-Brexit?
It means a special relationship between the British and the United States of America.
The special relationship is a term which was originally coined by Winston Churchill back in 1946. It describes the close connection that exists between the United States and the United Kingdom. The relationship is made up of three major components: trade and the economy, military, and intelligence sharing. Before we get into the practicalities of these components, let's discuss how the relationship is going at the moment. Like all relationships, there are up and downs, but it's safe to say the UK-US relationship is complicated. Many even argue that the so-called special relationship is a thing of the past. They say that it's a concept Brits hold on to bolster their image on the national stage. Stories have come out in recent years that the idea of a special relationship has even become a joke.
However, a former advisor to Barack Obama has revealed it was all seen as one big joke.
In fact, President Obama even said that the US's closest international partner was Germany, going on to say that the UK would have to join the back of the queue when it comes to trade deals after Brexit.
Maybe some point down the line there might be a UK-US trade agreement, but it's not going to happen anytime soon because our focus is in negotiating with a big bloc, the European Union, to get a trade agreement done. And UK is going to be in the back of the queue.
However, Obama is obviously no longer in power. So how does the special relationship look in the era of President Trump? Well, things started off strong. Theresa May was the first world leader to visit the Trump White House. During a press conference at the time, Trump displayed his admiration for the UK and May specifically.
Today, the United States renews our deep bond with Britain, military, financial, cultural, and political. We have one of the great bonds. We pledge our lasting support to this most special relationship. Together, America and the United Kingdom are a beacon for prosperity and the rule of law. That is why the United States respects the sovereignty of the British people and their right of self-determination.
May was even keen to invite Trump to the UK for a state visit to meet the Queen.
And I'm delighted that the President has accepted.
However, that's where the special relationship hits a somewhat more rocky patch. Amongst Trump's many famous Twitter rampages, he's hit out at Theresa May, accusing her of not focusing on the radical Islamic terrorism that he claimed was taking place in the UK. He also lambasted the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, as well as retweeting anti-Muslim videos from Britain First, a far-right British political party who themselves are facing hate speech charges. This resulted in May condemning Trump's actions.
Retweeting from Britain First was the wrong thing to do.
There's been a lot of controversies in the UK surrounding Trump's state visit. The original date was cancelled at the beginning of 2018, with the president claiming he cancelled the trip himself. He said that it was because he was annoyed with the deal Obama struck to sell the current US embassy, replacing it with a new $1 billion embassy. This was called into question by many, including Mayor of London Sadiq Khan, who said, "It appears that President Trump got the message from the many Londoners who love and admire America and Americans, but find his policies and actions the polar opposite of the city's values of inclusion, diversity and tolerance." A large number of people are also planning to protest Trump's visit, and it seems this may have been a major factor in dissuading the visit from taking place. Despite this, Trump will still be visiting London on July 13th, although it won't be the full state visit originally promised. It's therefore safe to say that things are a little volatile between the UK and US at the moment, and relying too much on the US when leaving the EU could be an issue for the UK. However, while many see the current events as an end to the special relationship, there's a lot of historic connection between the two countries. As we discussed earlier, there's three major components of the relationship. These are trade, military, and intelligence sharing. The UK and US certainly do trade a lot of goods and services. The UK imports £66.3 billion worth of goods from the US each year, while the US imports £99.5 billion worth of UK goods. And this figure is increasing. Since 2011, the amount the US imports from the UK has increased by 26%, while in the same time period, the UK's trade with the EU fell by 3%. Before we move on, if you want to know any more about who the UK trades with, we have a whole separate video about that. There's a link in the description. Beyond just the basics of trade, the US and UK are very close economically. The UK is the biggest source of foreign investment in the US, and similarly, the US is the biggest foreign investor in the UK. The most important sectors for UK exporters in the US are aviation, commercial property, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, and heavy machinery. Former US Secretary of State John Kerry made reference to this in 2013, saying, "We are not only each other's largest investors in each of our countries."
These are more than words, folks. I don't want to just say them. They're not just the words of diplomacy. They really aren't. This is a genuine expression of a feeling of friendship. And it is built up over years and years of common sacrifice, common endeavor, common interests, common values.
On top of trade, the UK and US have a very close military cooperation. This is obvious in three key areas: shared military bases, nuclear weapons development, and military procurement. The number of shared and US military bases in the UK expanded during the Second World War and Cold War. Since then, the number of bases has decreased as the US military changed over time. However, the US does continue to have a number of bases and shared facilities across the UK. On top of this, the UK and US jointly operate bases in Diego Garcia and on Ascension Island. In 1943, the United Kingdom and United States signed the Quebec Agreement, which resulted in them working on the development of atomic weapons side by side. This agreement was then renewed in 2004. The partnership resulted in the two nations sharing vital documents and intelligence. The UK is sending a delegation to assist with the Manhattan Project, sharing access to the Nevada test site, and conducting joint testing. The two countries are also very close when it comes to military procurement. The UK is the only collaborative international partner in the US's aircraft procurement project, the F-35 Lightning II project. The two have also shared designs and both still operate many of each other's designs. The final element of the special relationship is the intelligence sharing that takes place. The practice of sharing intelligence began during World War II, when the Brewster Agreement resulted in the nations sharing code-breaking knowledge. The UK and US then signed the UK-USA Security Agreement in 1948, which led to the formation of the Five Eyes Alliance, which is made up of the UK, US, Australia, New Zealand and Canada. The Five Eyes work together to share intelligence, and under UK-USA Accords, members aren't permitted to spy on each other. These close connections which exist between the UK and US mean that the relationship between the two nations has stayed very close over the last decades. However, the volatile state of both nations means nothing is certain in the current time. The UK could really do with some close allies as it leaves the EU, and many Brits are banking that the US could be that friend. To find out more about the Brexit process and news and politics in general, subscribe to TLDR on YouTube.